I'm actually a little chilly. 1 second. It is winter after all, and I am a little bit chilly. So, make it wake up. Okay. Oh yeah, here's the mic. Okay. Hello guys. Today we're going to be reading the AP European History textbook, A History of the Modern World. Oh yeah, mic's not plugged in. I'm a professional, by the way. I also just turned off the lighting a little bit. Okay. Hey guys, so today we are going to be fixing my login hat. Okay. Hey guys, today we are going to be reading the history of A History of the Modern World by Copernicus, R. Palmer, Joel Colton, and Lloyd Cramer. So let's just jump right into it. We're going to be starting in chapter 6, the 31st section, the 30th section, Political Theory, the School of Natural Law. We're going to be starting halfway into that section in the 6th chapter on Hobbes and Locke. Okay, what's that button do? Does that mute my? It does mute my mic. Okay. Okay. In domestic affairs, the philosophy of natural law, though it rather favored constitutionalism, was used to justify both constitutional and absolutist governments. Right itself was held to be in the nature of things, beyond human power to change. The forms of government were held to be means to an end. No philosopher at the time thought the state to have an absolute value in itself. The state had to be justified, more acceptable to the moral consciousness or to reason. There were, indeed, important competing philosophies. On the side of absolutism was the doctrine of divine right of kings. On the side of constitutionalism absolutism was the doctrine of the divine right of kings. On the side of constitutionalism were the arguments based on heritage or custom, emphasizing the charters, bulls, or compacts of former times of the historic powers of parliaments and estates. But neither the supernatural arguments of the divine right of kings nor the historical argument pointing back to the liberties of the Middle Ages was entirely satisfactory in the scientific atmosphere of the 17th century. Whenever I read 17th century, I just say in my head the 1600s because that just helps me. So yeah. Oh my gosh, do I have one viewer? I have one viewer. Oh my gosh. Wow, that is absolutely phenomenal. Please drop a comment, one viewer, and tell me who you are. Thanks. Also, drop a like. Smash the like button and subscribe. Neither, referring to the historical argument pointing towards the divine right of kings or to liberties of the Middle Ages. Neither carried complete conviction to the reason or moral sense of the most acute thinkers. Both were reinforced by arguments of natural law. Two Englishmen stand out above all others in this connection. Absolutism was philosophically justified by Thomas Hobbes. Constitutionalism by John Locke. John Locke. Hey guys, I'm going live and I'm reading my APEH textbook, right? AP Euro textbook, not APEH. Please join my live. I'm texting Sarah Savage. I'm texting who else is in my immediate. Look at my Sorry, Pierce Keller, Gustavo, and Jacob Scruggs. Yeah, I think that's enough publicity. Yeah, that's enough publicity for right now. Okay, 2 people are, oh my gosh, I have 2 viewers. Shout out to those 2 viewers who are here to see me read my AP Euro textbook. All right, guys, let's just jump back into it, okay? Yeah. Hobbes from 1588 to 1679, that was when he lived and when he died. I'm actually really encouraged by you two. Thank you so much for sticking around for us. Hobbes followed the scientific and mathematical discoveries of his time with more than an amateur interest. In philosophy, he held to a materialistic and even atheistic system. In English politics, he sided with the king against Parliament. He disliked the disorder and violence of the Civil War from the 1640s and the unstable conditions of the English Republic of the 1650s. He concluded that humans have no capacity for self-government. His opinion of human nature was low. He held that people in the state of nature, or as imagined to exist without government, were quarrelsome and turbulent, forever locked in a war of all against all. And his famous phrase, life in the state of nature, was, quote, solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, end quote. From fear of each other, to obtain order and enjoy the advantages of law and right, people came to a kind of agreement or contract by which they surrendered their freedom of actions into the hands of a ruler. It was necessary for this ruler to have unrestricted or absolute power. Now, only thus he maintained order. It was intolerably dangerous, according to Hobbes, for anyone to question the actions of governments, for such questioning might reopen the way to chaos. Government must therefore be a kind Leviathan, the monster mentioned in the Bible, in Job. And Hobbes, in fact, used the word Leviathan for the title of his principal book, published in 1651, 2 years after the execution of King Charles I. And then I'm just talk to you about that while I look back up. But he was against Parliament. He sided with the king against Parliament, which makes sense because he's for absolutism, right? Yeah, welcome back, second viewer, 2 viewers back on the channel. Please drop a comment and a like. Please drop a like and a comment and make sure that my mic's working. My mic is working, right? Yeah, my mic's totally working. It's fine. Gonna have to check my YouTube on my computadora to see if it's actually working. So what's my YouTube channel? Honestly, mates. I'm gonna join my own live right now. How funny would that be? Get an extra viewer, you know. I'm so funny. Yeah, Charles I, you know, he published it in 1651 following the death of Charles I to Cromwell, you know. And then Cromwell was replaced by his son, but his son wasn't really remarkable and wasn't even mentioned. And I have to go in the very back of the textbook to figure out that his son even existed because he was just replaced by Charles II, Charles I's son, immediately after. So Cromwell I died, and then Cromwell II replaced him, but Cromwell II didn't matter. Anyways, by this book, Hobbes became the leading secular exponent of absolutism and one of the principal theorists of the unlimited sovereignty of the state. His influence on later thinkers was very great. He accustomed political theorists to the use of purely natural. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have a video of myself talking, and my mic picks it up, goes to my phone repeats it, and goes back into my mic, so it creates an endless loop. That is horrifying. That is absolutely horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. Horrific. Okay. He accustomed political theorists to the use of purely natural arguments. He quoted freely from the Bible, but the Bible had no influence on his thoughts. After Hobbes, all advanced political theorists regarded government as a device created by human purpose. It was no longer considered, except popularly and except by professional theologians, as part of God's divine dispensation to human history. Hobbes also affected later theologians as by his argument for sovereign authority. Hobbes also affected later theologians by his argument for sovereign authority and, more negatively, by obliging them to refute his idea of an unlimited personal sovereign. But he was never a popular writer. In England, the cause which he favored was lost. In the continental countries where royal absolutism prevailed, his arguments were received with secret gratification. Hey, Gustavo, I'm reading the AP Euro textbook. Okay, boomer. Okay, boomer. Hey, Gustavo, welcome to the live. Please drop a like and subscribe to my channel. Here, I read my AP Euro textbook. I might have went live on the wrong channel. I have another YouTube channel. This might be the wrong one. But that's whatever. I have a little Asian guy. I have a sticker of an Asian guy in my room. That's pretty cool. I got it my freshman year. If you look in my mirror, you can see the edge of a Bob Ross painting, which I think is pretty cool. I got it at the dollar store a couple of days ago. Right? Isn't it hot? Isn't it hot? Okay. Now, Gustavo, thanks for coming to the live. I hope that you stick around for the end of this chapter. I'm going to keep on reading. Okay. In any case, Hobbes's arguments were in some ways insufficient for real monarchs. Hobbes abhorred struggle and violence. He believed that absolutism would produce civil peace, individual security, and a rule of law. He also held that absolute power depended on, or at least originated in, a free and rational agreement by which people accepted it. An absolute monarchy that flagrantly violated these conditions could with difficulty be justified even by the doctrines of Hobbes. It is in these respects that Hobbes differs from totalitarian theorists of more recent times. For Hobbes, in the final analysis, absolute power was expedient to promote individual welfare. It was a means necessary to the realization of natural law. Oh, hey, Fernando, what's poppin', guy? What's happening, guy? I haven't gotten any sponsors yet. Like, no sponsors have hit me up. I don't want to hang out. I'm gonna get all this work done. Me and Sarah Savage are gonna go see Joker at 6:50, the Carolina Mall Theater. So if you want to come, 6:50 and see Joker with me and Sarah Savage, you're definitely invited though. But until then, I'm gonna just keep the homies on YouTube entertained and with my ASMR, AP Euro ASMR. You know, fantastic. Okay. John Locke from 1632 to 1704. Was John Locke older or younger than Hobbes? Let's figure out. John Locke is significantly older than Hobbes. Hobbes was born in 1588. John Locke was born in 1632. Yeah, so there's like a 30-year, 40-year difference off of between the two. Great. Me and Sarah are going to be there at 6:50. Definitely not going to sneak in though, because Joker is certainly not R-rated. Just kidding, YouTube. We're gonna go watch Maleficent. Okay. Why am I like this? Okay, let's get back to reading. Yeah, so we're probably gonna get there. We got it. We got it covered. So we're gonna all get tickets to buy. I mean, I do want to talk about it because I'm on YouTube and all the fans are out there, but we're just gonna watch. We're just gonna watch Maleficent and not Joker because we can't see Joker because it's R-rated. But Maleficent, very good movie, and I do want to see Maleficent. John Locke, as has been seen, also stood in the main current of scientific thought and discovery. But in his political philosophy, Gustavo, I know you're not about to bring your mom to see Joker with all of your teenage friends. If you really I mean, if you really want your mom to come, that's fine. Like, you can bring your mom, but if you bring your mom, then that means I can bring Joe, because Joe also wants to see the movie. So like, I was wanting to just say, like, you maybe like you and your brother, me and Sarah, but if you want to bring your mom, then I'll bring Joe, and we'll just who's Joe? Oh, Joe Mama. I can't wait for it. Can't wait to like apply for college, like on the honors college at one of the schools I'm looking at, and just Google my name and see this video and be like, well, do we really want this kid come to our school? Yes, you do, because I'm reading the Euro textbook. I'm learning about Locke, John Locke. Okay, I'm gonna stop reading your comments now, but you should tune in and just like lay down, get some earbuds, listen to this AP Euro ASMR, and we'll just have a good time. Alrighty. But in his political philosophy, he carried over many ideas of the Middle Ages, also formulated in the 13th century by Saint Thomas Aquinas and kept alive in England by successive thinkers of the Anglican Church. Medieval philosophy had never favored an absolute power. With Hobbes, Locke shared the idea that good government is an expedient of human purpose, neither provided by divine providence nor inherited by a national tradition. He held to, like Hobbes and the whole school of natural law, that government was based on a kind of contract, or rational conscience agreed upon which authority was based. In contrast to Hobbes, he sided with Parliament against king in the practical struggle of politics. About 1680, in the course of these disputes, he wrote 2 treatises of government, which, however, were not published until shortly after the Parliamentary Revolution of 1688 to 1689, or the Glorious Revolution. Gustavo, I actually. So because of much ado about nothing, and because I haven't been able to work in so many after school events, with the junior ambassadors and all that other stuff that I've been involved with, because I've been so involved with everything at school, I haven't been able to work that much. And also because of college applications taking a big hit out of my bank account, like 70 per application, I don't have any money. So Sarah is actually taking me, which, normally every time that me and Sarah hang out, I pick her up because she just got a license, and I guess her parents are paying for gas. I don't have gas money, so I get paid on Thursday. So I'm gonna ask Sarah if she can come and pick me up, and then that's gonna be the moves. You don't have to pay for gas money. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could pay for gas money. If you paid for gas money, then I'd be able to take you. So that's something. But it's like before it was like, oh, I don't have any money, and I had like 130 in my bank account and I could spare. But it was like now it's like I literally have no money, you know. And now I'm not irresponsible. Like I'm not gonna go into the negatives with my money. But text me about it. You just shoot me a text, okay? You just shoot me a text. I have my phone right here. Already let me know. You can find a way. We're gonna be there at 6:50. Alrighty, I'm gonna get back to reading. If you want to text me, you can. Okay. Later, dude. Okay. So Hobbes and Locke disagreed. Hobbes was for the poem in regards to the English Revolution, right? We've obviously been talking about so much about how Hobbes was for by Gustavo. Hobbes was for but was for absolutism in support of the divine right of kings. Therefore, because he supported absolutism and the divine right of kings, Hobbes was very much for the king in the English Civil War of the 1640s. Locke, to contrast, was for constitutionalism, and I could have told you that before I went in if I were a betting man, because Locke, of course, said Locke, of course, is quoted uh, life, liberty, and property. Right, each man, those are the natural rights and natural laws of man. Laws and rights are not interchangeable, but I think it's the natural laws of man. Natural rights. It's one of the two. Life, liberty, and property. He was more liberal, I would say, more liberty-ish, more libertine, more libertarian. I think John Locke is actually like the founder. Was John Locke the look up if he was like the precursor? Yeah. The father of liberalism. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Okay. So, but Locke took a more general view of the human nature than Hobbes. As he showed in his other books, he believed that a moderate religion was a good thing, and above all, that people could learn from experience and hence could be educated to an enlightened way of life. These ideas favored a belief in self-government. Locke declared, in contradiction to Hobbes, that people in the state of nature were reasonable and well-disposed, willing to get along with one another through handicap and the absence of public authority. They likewise had a moral sense, quite independently of government, and they also possessed, by nature of certain rights, quite apart from the state. These rights were the right to life, liberty, and property. I just said that, baby. Come on. Locke placed heavy emphasis on the right of property, which usually meant the possession of land. His philosophy can, in fact, be regarded as an expression of the landed classes of England, who challenged the power of kings by defending the political and social rights of private property. Individuals of the state of nature are not altogether able, according to Locke, to win general respect for their individual natural rights. They cannot, by their own efforts, protect what is proper to them, that is, their property. They agreed to set up a government to enforce observations of the rights of all. Government is thus created by a contract, but the contract is not unconditional, as claimed by Hobbes. It imposes mutual obligations. The people must be reasonable. Only rational beings can be political free. Liberty is not an anarchy of undisciplined will. It is the freedom to act without compulsion by another. Uh, that's philosophical. Liberty is and imposes mutual obligations. The people must be reasonable. Only rational beings can be politically free. Liberty is not an anarchy of undisciplined will. It is the freedom to act without compulsion by another. Only rational and responsible creatures can exercise true freedom, but adult human beings, according to Locke, are or can be educated to be rational and responsible. They therefore can and should be free. On government also, certain conditions and obligations are imposed. If a government breaks the contract, if it threatens the natural rights which it is the sole purpose of government to protect, if, for example, it takes away a man's property without his consent, then the governed have a right to reconsider what they have done in creating the government, and may even in the last extremity rebel against it. The right to resist government, Locke admits is very dangerous, but is less dangerous than it is opposite, which would lead to the loss of liberty for all. And in any case, we are talking about reasonable and responsible people. If Locke's ideas seem familiar, especially to Americans, it is because of the wide popularization of the philosophy in the century after his death. Nowhere is his influence greater than in the British colonies. The authors of the American Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States knew the writings of Locke very thoroughly. Some phases of the Declaration of Independence echo his very language. In Great Britain also, and in France, and elsewhere in his time, Locke's influence was immense. But it should be noted that these ideas did not always mean the same thing for all people in all places. Locke did not extend the ideas of human liberty to enslaved Africans, apparently because he viewed slavery as a legitimate form of private property. Locke himself invested in slave trading of Royal African Company and endorsed the development of slavery in the American colonies. The growing influence of Locke's political theories may have also contributed indirectly to the emergence of new racist ideas in the 18th century. New justifications for slavery became necessary when the political classes of England and America began to believe that human beings possess natural rights to life. Wow, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting what I just read. New justifications for slavery became necessary when the political classes of England and America began to believe that humans possess natural rights to life, liberty, and property. How could slavery be reconciled with such beliefs? The answer appeared in new forms of racism, which justified the enslavement of Africans by arguing that the African race lacked certain irrational human traits of the European race, and that other Black people could be denied fundamental rights because they differed from other human beings. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Tuesday afternoon, Concord. Okay, there's a notification from my computer. That's really interesting, the origins of racial tensions and slavery. Whenever people started to think and justify that, wow, humans have all these natural rights and these natural laws that they obey in these social contracts, whenever people started getting more scientific in what humans were, they had to create more justifications for why did not these Africans have the same rights as Europeans. They had to answer that question and rationalize what they were doing for themselves. Because if you were to concede and say that, oh well, the Africans and Europeans are both humans, then that you can't have slavery at that point. And slavery it's terrible, right? Because that makes slavery terrible. But if you tell yourself that, well, the Africans and the Europeans are not equal and they're not inherently the same being, then that opens the gate within. You justify it for yourself and you make it moral. See what I'm saying? In general, however, Locke's ideas of natural rights and human liberty were later used to challenge absolutist or repressive institutions, including also the institutions of slavery. What Locke was to convert an episode in English history into an event of universal political meaning. In England in 1688, certain great lords, winning the support of the established church, gentry, and merchants, disposed one king and brought in another. On the new king, they imposed certain obligations, specified in England in 1688. Certain great lords, when these were. On the new king, they imposed certain obligations, specified in the Bill of Rights of 1689, and all dealing with legal or technical interpretations of the English Constitution. The Revolution of 1688 was a very English affair. England in 1688 was still little known to the rest of Europe. The proceedings in England, so far as known, might seem no different from a rebellion of the magnates of Hungary. Locke, in arguing that Parliament had been right to eject James II, put the whole affair on a level of reason, natural rights, and human nature. It thus came to meaning for the people who had no connection with the specific problems of English political history. Locke on the English Revolution. Let's see what he thinks about the English Revolution. At the same time, Locke made the English Revolution a sign of progress rather than reaction. The new and modern forms of government in 1690 was royal absolutism with the professional bureaucracy and corps of paid officials. Almost everywhere there was a resistance to the kings, led by landed interests and harking back to the earlier freedoms. Such resistance seemed to many Europeans to be feudal and medieval. Locke made the resistance in England, namely the Revolution of 1688 against James II, into a modern and forward-looking move. He checked the prestige of absolutism. He gave the prestige to constitutional principles. He carried over in modified form many ideas of the scholastic philosophers of the Middle Ages, who had generally maintained that kings had kings had only relative and restricted power and were responsible to their peoples. To these ideas, he added the force of a newer scientific view of the world. He did not rest his case on supernatural or providential arguments. He did not say that constitutional government was the will of God. He said that it rested on experience and observation of human nature, on recognition of certain individual rights, and especially the right of property, and on the existence of purely natural law of reason and justice. He was almost an entirely secular thinker, and as such, he developed ideas that could be drawn into the political and social conflicts of the most modern nations. One must not claim too much for Locke or for any other writer. England was, in fact, in 1688, more modern in many ways than other countries in Europe. The Glorious Revolution was, in fact, not likely like uprisings of landed and propertied classes elsewhere. England in the following century did, in fact, it's really weird to see through the camera. The Glorious Revolution was, in fact, not exactly like uprisings of the landed and propertied classes elsewhere. England in the following century did, in fact, create a form of parliamentary government that was unique. But facts go together with the theories that give them an understandable meaning. Events in England, as explained by Locke, and as seen in other countries and modern history, Okay, so this is the last paragraph, and I just cannot speak any of it, so I'm just going to end the stream. Okay, bye. Yeah, because I can't. It's the very last paragraph, and I guess I'm just getting excited. My words aren't coming out, so bye.